Hey, can you hear me? Check, check, check.
How's it going?
Hey, um, did Emily give you a call yesterday or a text
Yeah,
or something?
I'm flying tomorrow morning with her. I think with
Nice.
her. I'm flying tomorrow
Uh,
morning
at 9.
yeah.
Is it
Uh
is it a discovery flight or is it
yeah, yeah, she said we're doing like an hour intro and then I'll sit down with Mike and whatever, have my mom sign a bunch of,
yeah,
you know,
that's that's normally how
forms
it
and stuff.
goes.
Yeah.
So, that's
But it
good.
all goes to my flight time anyways, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, it
it's
does. Everything pretty much
all right.
anytime you're in the left seat right now can goes towards your flight time. So, yeah, you need to do it anyways. So,
Yeah.
good, good. Yeah, they'll walk you through the different airplanes there, and you can choose which one you want to train in.
Okay.
You can hop between whatever you want. The Diamond is the fastest, the 150 is the cheapest, and the 172 is the most common. So it'll be one of those three, whatever you want
Uh,
to do. So
okay. Do you think it really matters?
no, it doesn't. It really doesn't matter.
They're all pretty much the same.
The 172 has the nicest equipment in it, like the best GPS and the best. It has a couple instead of like traditional steam gauge instruments. They're what's called glass, which is like electronic instead of
Hmm.
what you learned in class. They won't be like that. Um,
Okay.
but it really doesn't matter what you train in.
Okay. And you think uh like if I choose to go to Ohio State, you think it's the best for me if I just go through all the way up to my 250 to commercial, like through Spencer?
That's what I mean. That's going to be the cheapest option, and most likely it'll be the fastest.
Yeah,
Uh,
everything I've seen is like going through a 141. It like you get caught up by like some nonsense syllabus stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of bullshit in the 141.
Okay.
Like, and the problem at Ohio State is, and they didn't have this problem when I was there, actually, right when I got my CFI, because when you get your CFI, you're basically done
Uh-huh.
flying there. Right when I got my CFI when I was a junior, they started admitting like way too many people into the program. So it used to be when
Hmm.
I went there, like you just showed up and you started flying immediately. And then they had way too many people, not enough airplanes. So you like took the ground school the first semester, and then you had to
Yeah.
interview. And
Yeah,
then,
that's kind of how it sounded when I did my tour.
yeah, it probably still is like that. It's just bullshit, dude. You don't want to put up with that. You're wasting
Okay.
time. That's,
And I've been looking at like some different schools out of state, and my plan, I think, if it sounds good to you, just find like a Part 61 school that's close to the campus and bring a car and
yeah,
just go to and
that's what I would do, man.
from.
I would not mess around with a 141 school anymore,
Okay, and then
especially
just go.
because you're limited in the degrees you can get. You have
Yeah.
to get a degree that they want, that like mine, which is useless. So
Uh-huh.
I would get a business degree or finance or something
Okay,
else that you could see yourself doing and
and then just go to that 61 school all the way up until
absolutely.
DFI.
Yeah, it'll be cheaper too. And
Okay.
you'll get to fly when you want. In college, in 141, they give you a slot. So like that's the only time you can fly. So like if the weather's shitty that day at that time, you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, I also feel like it's going to be a better lifestyle to kind of, be at my own pace. I can go faster. I mean, I think I'll definitely be going faster than I would be. at like a flight school out of college.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I if I could go back and do it over again, I would have just got a business degree at OSU and got my CFI, everything through Spencer. So
Okay,
that's what I would recommend.
all right. Because I think I'm gonna go to or Auburn, but I mean,
Hmm.
I know they have a good flight school, but I mean, I still think I would do it separate.
Yeah, I like I said, I would, and I'm sure I've
Okay,
been down to that airport down there with NetJets, and it's a nice airport, so I'm certain they have
some school.
an independent flight school. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Clemson had one, I think, within 40 minutes. I was just trying to keep it under like a 45-minute drive because that's probably I don't know how far Spencer is from OSU, but I was trying to keep it like pretty much equal, no matter if I
yeah,
go in state or out of state.
it's about 45 minutes up there, so
Which
but
it's really not that bad.
no,
I
it's
won't
not. I mean,
I won't really care for that.
leave an hour
It'll be
before your
pretty.
flight. You'll get there. You have 15 minutes to pre-flight. You'll be ready. So,
Yeah, yeah. But I'm excited either way.
yeah, no, I'm excited. Emily's good. She was my student. I
Oh yeah.
got her private, and then I don't have an instrument. Like I can't teach instrument, so then she got her instrument with someone else. And then I
Uh,
did a lot of her flying for her commercial and her CFI. So she knows what she's doing. So,
and she did like she didn't do it at a 141. She did it all through Spencer. Or,
yeah, she did everything through Spencer. She didn't start flight training until after she is a master. She is an MBA
oh,
and started flight training after that.
hmm.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
I definitely just want to get straight into it. I'm not too interested in except I think if I go to OSU, I'm gonna do aviation management through the business school.
Yeah, that
Sounds
would be
pretty interesting.
good. I mean, that's fine too. And even if because then you'll have a business degree. So,
Yeah.
that's it's pretty versatile. So, um, did you do the week 3 quiz?
I did the three, but the four that you sent me on my email, it kept giving me like an error message. So
The
if you
like
could,
the lecture or
no, I watched the lecture. It was week four quiz,
okay, let's see.
or maybe it says week four questions, week five, and that's all. Like it says this server can't be contacted.
Okay, I got all this shit fucked up. So let's see.
Okay, I had the
So
week three quiz.
you were able to watch this, the week 5?
Yeah, through
Okay.
YouTube.
Okay. Were you were able to do this one or not?
Let's see. Um, Maybe that's the one that didn't open.
Okay. I'll try sending it to you again because I do want you to do this quiz.
Okay,
Um, but we can talk about it next week.
okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I it was on my whichever one you sent me through email last was like it kept giving me an error message, and I meant to text you, but it just slipped my mind.
that's okay. I'll try to send it right now and see we can see what happens.
Okay.
It's I don't like to give homework, but when you're learning stuff for the first time, like it's good to check your understanding by the quizzes.
No, it's good. This
Um,
homework is
and it doesn't take very long, more
actually
than
enjoyable.
30 minutes. Yeah. So let me know if that worked for you. If not, I'll mess around and send it as a Word document or something, and we'll see if that works any better.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so today we're going to talk about airspace. This one won't be as long as the other ones, or it shouldn't be.
Okay.
But when you're taking notes, a good way to break these up is it's first we're going to talk about just like what the airspace is, and then we'll talk about required
Okay.
equipment for that airspace, and then we'll talk about what's called VFR weather minimums. So there's kind of like 3 parts to every airspace that we're going to talk about.
You
So
said VFR weather minimum.
yeah, VFR weather minimums.
Okay.
So the first class of airspace is going to be class alpha. Um, This is the airspace that extends from 18,000 feet sea level up to flight level 600, and it extends 12 miles off the shore, and it's IFR rules only. So, as a private pilot or as someone without an instrument rating, you can't go up here. Okay. When you get to 18,000 feet, they stop using the local altimeter setting, and everyone uses 2,992. Everyone at 18,000 feet and above is on the altimeter setting 2,992. The reason they do this is because people are moving so quickly up there above 18,000 feet that you would be continuously changing your altimeter setting. Everyone would be on different altimeter settings, which would end up in people being showing different altitudes but being at the same altitude. So everyone uses 2,992. That way, everyone is on the same page, and they all are using the same altitudes. So what you will hear and what you see at the end of this bullet point is flight level 600. So above 18,000 feet, they're called the flight levels. So 19,000 feet is flight level 190. 21,000 feet is flight level 210. So 60,000 feet is flight level 600. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So in Alpha, uh, which is above 18,000 feet, they're all using 2,992 as their altimeter setting. The requirements
So
for,
that's going up
I'm sorry, what'd you
when
say?
you're going up to 18,000, you're on 2,909 or 2.
No, once you get above 18,000 feet. So it's 17,999, you'd be using the local altimeter setting. But then when you get to 18,000 feet, you'll switch over to 2,999 or 2.
Yeah.
So the required equipment or the requirements to be in Class Alpha, you need to be on an instrument flight rules flight plan. You have to have an instrument rating. You need a two-way radio, so you need to be able to talk and receive. You need a Mode C transponder, and then you're going to need ATC clearance. So you're going to have to be cleared from air traffic control to go into Alpha. Um, a Mode C transponder. So what a Mode C transponder is it's a transponder that not only relays your location to ATC, but also your altitude to ATC. So nowadays, pretty much every single transponder is Mode C. You don't really see transponders that aren't Mode C anymore. So every time we talk about requiring a transponder, you can just assume that it's Mode C. And you won't ever really see, like, you'll never see Mode A or Mode B in a question or anything. Just Mode C is the only one you'll ever see. Any questions on that?
No.
And then, so we talked about VFR weather minimums. There for Class Alpha, there are no VFR weather minimums because you can't be in Alpha under VFR, under visual flight rules. It's only instrument flight rules. Moving on. So our next airspace will be Class Bravo. Class Bravo is generally the airspace surrounding the busiest airports in the country. So there's 26 Class Bravos in the country. The FAA determines what airports or what airspaces will be Class Bravo based upon certain criteria that include scheduled flights in and out of. Um, Bravos are tailored to the region's specific needs. So there's no standard Bravo, like there's no standard shape. Charlie and Delta, the other airspaces that we're going to get it into, have standard shapes, but Bravo does not. Um, but the one thing they do have is it generally extends from the surface to 10,000 feet MSL. That's generally the bounds of the Bravo. Important thing to know here is that each Bravo is tailored to the specific needs. That's what they'll ask on the written. So this is what a Class Bravo looks like. This is Dallas Fort Worth. So right here in the middle is Dallas Fort Worth Airport. Um, Here is Dallas Love. Actually, yeah, that should be Dallas Love, right? I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Oh no, there's Love right there. That's Fort Worth. Anyways, so in the middle is Big Dallas. A Class Bravo airspace is identified by these solid blue lines. Okay, so when you see solid blue, that is a Class Bravo airspace. If you look out here, you see this solid magenta line. This solid magenta line you can see right here. It says Mode C and then 30 nautical miles. What this is this is called the Mode C Veil, VEIL, the Mode C Veil. And it is a 30 nautical mile uh, ring that surrounds the Bravo airspace. And if you want to be inside that Mode C veil, you need to have a Mode C transponder. So what that means practically is if you want to be inside this ring, even if you're not inside the Bravo airspace, you have to have a Mode C transponder. So if you look at the map here, this is called a sectional map. We'll look at this more as time goes on. Right here, you see this section right here of the blue,
Hmm.
and then you see these two numbers, 4,000 and 10,000. What this is giving you is the vertical dimensions of the Bravo in this section. Okay, so if you're in this area between 4,000 and 10,000 feet, you are in the Bravo. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
So if you're down at 3,000, you're not in the Bravo. I'm under the Bravo, don't need to have anything that's required to be in the Bravo except the Mode C transponder because I'm on the inside of this purple line. If you go over here into this cutout right here, and we're right here, this is 3,000 to 11,000. So if I'm between 3,000 and 11,000, I am in the Bravo. If you go right here, right next to the airport, this is surface to 11,000. Does that make sense? How these
Yeah.
work? Okay, it's pretty straightforward. We'll look at that sectional map a lot more, so don't be concerned right now.
Yeah.
This right here, this is Seattle Tacoma. So I just put this in here just to show you um, how differently the Bravos can be shaped. So Dallas is basically a circle. Tacoma is kind of this trapezoid shape because that's what they need due to the terrain and also how the other airports are positioned. You can see Boeing Field is like literally right next to Seattle. So they had to create this airspace in a different way than they did Dallas Fort Worth. Once again, you can see right here this purple solid purple line. This is your Mode C and ADSB area. ADSB, what that is it's basically a even better Mode C, and what it does is it tells ATC your tail number, it tells them your altitude, it tells them your heading, and it tells them your ground speed. So they just get more information from ADSB than they do Mode C. All right. So the requirements for Class Bravo. Very, 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 very important. In order to enter Class Bravo, you need a clearance. So you need to hear the words, you are cleared into Bravo airspace. If you do not hear those specific words, you are cleared into Bravo, you are not allowed to enter the Bravo. Okay? That's what a clearance is. Because we're going to talk about later for Charlie and Delta, you need something from those controllers, but it's not a clearance. So to get into Bravo, you need a clearance from air traffic control. You need a private pilot certificate or a student pilot certificate with an endorsement. So if you're a student pilot, you are allowed to fly in the Bravo alone, as long as you have an endorsement from your CFI, and that CFI has to give you ground training and flight training in that Bravo before they can give you that endorsement. You're not going to do that here in Columbus. There's no reason for you to fly in a Bravo alone. You'd have to go down to Cincy, up to Cleveland, or over to Pittsburgh to get to a Bravo. So that's just not going to happen. You need a Mode C transponder, and the Mode C transponder is also required if you're overflying Bravo airspace. So what I mean by that is if you are within the lateral bounds, so if you're over here, but you're at 8,000 feet, you need to have a Mode C transponder still. Okay. It's because it's so busy going in and out of the Bravos that they want to know about you if you're over. They want to have information on you if you are over the airport because they're going to have jets that are over the airport and out of the airspace. And then lastly, you need a two-way radio. This should make sense because how else are you going to get a clearance without a two-way radio, right? Um, if you don't have one of these things, mainly if you don't have a Mode C or a two-way radio. You can make arrangements with the air traffic control if you need to fly in that airspace for some reason. So like if you needed to go get maintenance done on the airplane, but your radio wasn't working and it required you to fly into a Bravo, you could call on your phone. You could call the air traffic control center like the day before, a couple days before, and communicate with them, and they'll set something up for you. So you can make it happen, but there needs to be prior planning. All right, the weather minimums for Bravo. What these weather minimums are, okay? So one sec before you write this down. What we have two distinct definitions of VFR. So visual flight rules, the ceiling needs to be at least 1,000 feet, and the visibility must be at least 3 statute miles. If both of those conditions are not met, then it's not VFR, and you need to be on an instrument flight plan. Okay, so both of those conditions, it must be at least 1,000 feet ceiling, and it must be at least 3 statute miles visibility, or it's not VFR. The VFR weather minimums that we're talking about with the airspace are what you are required to maintain from the clouds. Okay. So it could be broken at 1500 in the Bravo, and you're allowed to get as close as possible to those clouds without going into them. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
In the Charlie and Delta, they're going to make you stay 500 feet below or 1,000 feet above every cloud. Okay. The reason that they do that is because there's going to be instrument airplanes flying through those clouds. So they don't want you right next to the cloud, and the instrument airplane flies right out the cloud and flies right into you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So how to remember Bravo is the least restrictive of all the weather minimums. All the cloud clearances just remain clear of the clouds, so don't fly into the clouds, and 3 statute miles visibility. The reason that it's so unrestrictive is because in the Bravo, you're being positively controlled by ATC. They're telling you where to go, when to go. You're not allowed to just go fly around in the Bravo and do whatever you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everyone's on a clearance in the Bravo, so they're fine with you being really close to the clouds. It doesn't really matter. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to fix this slide actually right now, is Class Charlie airspace. So Class Charlie is going to be the airspace surrounding the busy controlled airports. Um, and it generally goes from surface to 4,000 feet AGL. So they'll just take it from the surface up to 4,000 feet. Um, and it's composed of two rings. Okay, so there's a 5 nautical mile inner radius that extends from the surface to 4,000, and then a 10 nautical mile outer ring that extends from 1,200 to 4,000 above the ground. You'll see what this looks like on the next slide. Columbus is a Class Charlie. Toledo's a Class Charlie. Indianapolis is a Class Charlie. Dayton's Class Charlie. So there's a lot out there. So here's Columbus right here. The solid magenta is going to be your Charlie airspace. Okay. So Columbus is right in the middle. Our first 5 nautical mile ring is right here. So from the center from the airport to this ring is 5 nautical miles. And it's surface to 4,000 feet above ground level. So field elevation in Columbus is about 800 feet. So it goes from surface to 4,800 mean sea level. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
This second ring right here is a 10 nautical mile radius, but it's 5 miles from here to here, right? Because this one's a 5 mile radius and this is another 5 miles. This area right here is also 1,200 to 4,000. Um, they have a little leeway right here, so this is really 1,700 to 4,000, but the general dimensions remain about the same. So 2,500 is the floor out here, 4,800 is the top of the Charlie. This is standard. So like pretty much all of the Charlies will look like this.
Oh yeah.
The requirements to fly in a Charlie is you just need a student pilot certificate. You need a transponder, so mode C transponder, and also you need a mode C transponder to overfly the airspace, just like we talked about with the Bravo. And then this is where Charlie is different than the Bravo. You need to establish two-way radio communications. Okay. What that means is ATC must read back your tail number. So you don't need a clearance, but you need ATC to read back your tail number. What that sounds like is, let's say I'm calling up Columbus. I would say Columbus approach November 1234, 5 miles north of the airfield, looking to do touch and goes at John Glenn. Approach calls me back. They say Columbus approach November 1234, heading 180. So Columbus approach read my tail number back to me. I am good to enter the Charlie. If I call them up, I say Columbus approach November 1234, 5 miles north of the airfield, looking to do touch and goes at John Glenn. Columbus approach, airplane calling, remain clear of Class Charlie. So if they say airplane calling, that is their way of responding to you without establishing two-way radio communications. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if they say airplane calling, they don't want you in their airspace. They'll either do that or they'll say November 1234, do not enter Charlie airspace. Um, or they could just ignore you altogether. That happens all the time.
So what do you do if you get denied access to the airspace?
When you figure something out, you go somewhere else. You do something else. You fly around the airspace or under the airspace or over it. You should always plan, have some sort of alternate plan. Um, One of the other things I forgot to say, but it's also true for the Charlie, but mainly for the Bravo. Um, if you are talking to ATC, let's say in this situation we're talking to ATC of a Bravo airspace, and we call them up and we say, Pittsburgh approach, November 1234, looking to transit your airspace from east to west 4,000 feet. And ATC calls back, Pittsburgh approach, November 1234, heading 090. So they didn't clear us into the airspace. They didn't say you were cleared into the Bravo, but they gave us a heading. If that heading is going to put us in their airspace, like it's going to put us in the Bravo,
Mhm.
you're still not cleared into the Bravo. You need to query them. You need to ask them because they probably forgot or they aren't paying attention. Okay. So, but it's still going to fall on you. You're still going to get in trouble if you fly into the airspace. So they gave us that heading. I'm going to call them back and say Pittsburgh airspace, 090 is going to put us right in Bravo. Are we cleared into the Bravo? And then they'll come back and tell us yes or no. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you unfortunately have to pay attention. Okay. The weather minimums in Class Charlie. So this is a visual representation of what the weather minimums mean. The way to remember this is 3152. You need 3 statute miles visibility. You need to be either 1,000 feet above or 500 feet below or 2,000 foot horizontally from all clouds. So you can be any one of these. Charlie, Delta, and Echo are all going to be 3152. They're all going to be the same weather minimums. Good on that?
It was 500 horizontal or
Five
5,000?
500 below, 2,000 horizontal.
Whoa. Okay, got it.
All right, Delta airspace. So Delta is going to be all other controlled airports. Usually the airspace is surface to 2,500 AGL, and it's generally a 4 nautical mile ring. So they're pretty much all going to be structured like that, just service to 2,500 AGL and a 4 nautical mile ring around the airport. So any airport that is towered is at least going to be a Delta. So right here is Youngstown. Anytime you see this dashed blue right here,
Hmm.
that's a delta. The dash blue is a delta. So the solid blue is a Bravo. The dash blue is a delta. You can see Youngstown actually. You can see this box right here that just says 37.
Uh-huh.
If you just see the box, that just means the surface to that altitude. So surface to 3,700 feet is Youngstown's airspace within this circle. We'll come back and actually look at Youngstown later. So. All right, Class Delta requirements. So all you need in the Delta is to establish two-way radio communications. So you need to have your tail number read back to you, and you need a student pilot certificate. You do not need a transponder. The reason for this is the vast majority of Class Delta airports do not have radar, so they can't see transponders anyways. They're just relying on you reporting to them your position. So all you really need is a radio, so you can establish two-way radio contact. Your weather minimums in Class Delta are going to be 3,152, 3 statute miles, 1,000 feet above, 500 below, and 2,000 horizontally. Good on that?
Yep.
Okay. Um, Now we're on to Class Echo airspace. Okay, so Class Echo is controlled airspace that's not a part of Bravo, Charlie, or Delta. When we're talking about airspace, there's two definitions of controlled airspace. So one, you have the controlled airspace that uh, is controlled by like a control tower or approach and departure control, which you'll see in Bravo, Charlie, and Deltas. The other type of controlled airspace that we're talking about is going to be airspace that ATC can control IFR traffic. They provide separation and control for IFR traffic. So in this sense, Class Echo airspace is controlled airspace, meaning ATC can provide separation and control for IFR traffic. In uncontrolled airspace, which Gulf, the next airspace we'll talk about is, ATC will not provide separation and control for IFR traffic, but in Echo airspace, they will. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So it's kind of two classes of controlled airspace. Controlled airspace, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta are controlled in the sense that they have control towers that you need to talk to in order to enter the airspace. And then there's Class E controlled airspace, which means that ATC will provide separation. So sectional depicts all areas of Echo below 14,500 feet. What that means is Echo really technically begins at 14,500 feet, if not depicted. But everywhere on the sectional, it is depicted otherwise. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like next. But most of the floor of Echo is at 1,200 feet MSL. And then surrounding airports, the floor will be 700 feet MSL. We'll see what that looks like in a second. It could be a little confusing. Um, and it extends up to, but does not include 18,000 feet because 18,000 feet is class alpha. So your class echo goes up to 17,999 feet. Good on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what I'm talking about. So here's Delaware, right? Here's Marysville. This magenta, okay, this kind of hazy magenta that forms basically a circle around Delaware and Marysville is depicting the floor of Class Echo airspace. If you are on the inside of like the shape that this magenta makes, if you're on the inside of it, the floor of Echo airspace is 700 feet. Echo's going to go down to 700 feet. So from 700 feet up to 17,999 is Echo airspace. Below that is Gulf. If you are on the outside of the shape that this creates, the floor of Echo is 1,200 feet. Echo goes from 17,999 down to 1,200 feet out here. Below that is going to be Gulf. So you can see when we look at the map here, the sectional, turn some of these shaders off. You can see like around the airports, they extend Echo down to 700 feet. Technically, this area out here is just on the outside of this magenta. So Echo goes down to 1,200 feet out here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you're on the inside of the shaded, it's down to 700. On the outside, it's down to 12. Sometimes you'll see this. You'll see this hatching, this purple hatch. What that means is it's echo to the ground. Okay, so around this place, around Finley up here, so that's Covington. Finley, which you will go to, I'm sure of, right here, has the purple hatching around it. So that's echo to the ground. The reason for that is ATC wants to control IFR traffic all the way to the ground at that airport. That's why they do that. Um, yeah, and then we'll talk about what it looks like when Echo actually starts at 14.5 later. We'll look at that in a second. Class Echo requirements, all you need is a student pilot certificate. You don't need a radio. So Delaware itself is um, Class Echo airspace above it. So you don't have to make any radio calls at Delaware. You don't even need a radio. Some airplanes don't even have an electrical system. So you're a real dick if you're flying around not making radio calls, but you don't need to. Above 10,000 feet, you do need a transponder though. So above 10,000 feet in Echo, you need to have a transponder. Do you have any guesses why that is?
Um, is that because would you run into like another like type of airspace or I
Not
don't know,
necessarily airspace, but above 10,000 feet. Who do you think's flying above 10,000 feet most of the time?
bigger planes?
Yeah, bigger, faster airplanes, right? So they want you to have a transponder if you're going to meander up there, because they don't want you to hit and kill, a 737 or something, kill 200 people.
Yeah.
So the Class E cloud clearance. So they're split between 10,000, below 10,000 and above 10,000. So below, it's the same as Charlie and Delta. It's 3,152, 3 statute miles, 1,000 feet above, 500 below, and 2,000 horizontally. Above 10,000 feet, uh, they get bigger. So it goes to 5 statute miles, 1,000 above, 1,000 below, and 1 mile horizontally. The reason for this is what we just talked about, right? So above 10,000 feet, the airplanes are moving a lot faster. So they want you to be further away from the clouds, so that if an instrument flight plan aircraft pops out of a cloud, you're not right next to it and you cause an incident. They want more room for you to get out of the way.
Got it.
All right. Last type of normal airspace is the class Golf airspace. So this is uncontrolled airspace, underlying echo airspace. So in this sense, class Golf is uncontrolled because ATC does not control IFR traffic in this airspace. So this is what it looks like when echo doesn't start until 14.5. You'll get the blue. So instead of the magenta, you get blue faded lines. And inside that, it's golf all the way up to 14,500. There's only like 3 places in the entire country where you see this. So this is super, super rare. You don't see this a lot at all. And what did it, I think this is out in, it's either Alaska or it's on the West Coast. So you pretty much never see this. Class golf weather minimums. So this one's the most confusing because it has the most categories. At nighttime, it's the same as Charlie Delta and Echo. So at nighttime in class golf, it's just 3 statute miles, 1,000 above, 500 below, 2,000 horizontally. Then you have daytime, which is split into altitudes. So you have daytime above 1,200 feet MSL. It's 1 statute mile and 1,500. I'm sorry, yeah, 1,500 and 2,000. And then below 1,200 during the day, it's 1 statute mile in clear clouds. So if you're in golf during the day and you're below 1,200 feet, if you can just stay out of the clouds, then you're good. Not a good idea. I would not do that, but uh, that's the minimum. You good on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about just a few special types of airspaces here. Um, the first one is called an alert area. So an alert area is just an area that has high levels of aircraft activity. It can be flight training, gliders, balloons, etc. This is what it's going to look like on the sectional. It's going to have the hatched purple, and it'll say A, and then it'll have a number to identify what it is. What you can do with any of these special airspaces is you can use this number, and then the sectional chart, the physical sectional chart, will have a legend on it that has all the information for that area. Okay, and we're going to look at one of those in a second. But this is down in Florida, and this alert area is due to high volume of flight training. So there's no restrictions or anything on going into this alert area. You can go whenever you want. You don't need to talk to anybody, but they just want you to be aware of what's going on there. Next, we have what's called an MOA, military operating area. So you'll see this right here. It's the same purple hatching as we just saw with the alert area, but it'll be called an MOA, Bush Creek MOA, Buckeye MOA. What's going on in here is military flight training. And the reason that they have these is it separates IFR traffic from military. So like when you're on an instrument flight plan, if these are hot, like if they're in use, you'll get routed around them. If they're not in use, they'll route you right through it. You are, as VFR traffic, allowed to enter these without talking to anybody, but it's generally advised against. You're not supposed to, but you can. The hot times, or the times that they're being used, can be found on the sectional chart, along with the frequency for the controlling agency. So you can find out when you can expect the military to be in here, what altitudes you can expect them to be at, and who to talk to if you want to go through that MOA. You good on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Warning areas. So warning areas are basically MOAs, but off the coast, over the water. So they extend from 3 nautical miles outward from the coast of the United States, um, and they contain activities that may be hazardous to aircraft. So that's going to be, military training. And the purpose for this is to separate us from the military. You're not restricted in terms of entering, but you should be in contact with the controlling agency. So it's kind of just the same thing as the MOA, but out over the water. Next, we've got a restricted area. So restricted area is going to be this blue with this hatching, and then it'll say R and then numbers, as opposed to a prohibited area, which will be a P. A restricted area is an area where there's hazardous operations, and it's airspace within which the flight of aircraft is not wholly prohibited, but is subject to restriction. So unusual, invisible hazards to aircraft, artillery firing, aerial gunnery, and guided missiles. Penetration of restricted areas without authorization from the using or controlling agency may be extremely hazardous. So once again, they're not saying you're prohibited from flying into a restricted area, but you shouldn't do it without talking to the controlling agency, which you can find on your sectional. This right here is Camp David, which is where the president goes pretty often out near Maryland. So they don't want you flying over that without talking to them. Next, we've got a prohibited area. Entry is prohibited. You're not allowed to fly in here. So this one, it tells you on the actual sectional the altitude where the prohibited area begins. So P40 begins, I don't know, at 5,000 feet, or ends at 5,000 feet. So you're not allowed to fly lower than that over this. But this is normally due to national security. So Camp David, the National Mall in DC is another prohibited area. I think those are the only two I know off the top of my head. Controlled firing area. This is a CFA. They're not charted, and they're areas where military arms training occurs. They utilize spotters to stop drills if an aircraft is going to enter the area. So you don't know if you fly into one of these. The military will just stop their drill if they think you're going to enter the controlled firing area. So I don't know why we learn about these if they're not charted and we don't know about them, but
So those aren't on us. Those are completely
yes, there's nothing we can do about it. They'll stop their drill. We don't even know that they're going on. So
got it.
Next is called Terminal Radar Service Area, also known as a TIRSA. TIRSA. You can see right here at the top, it says Youngstown TIRSA. So a TIRSA is represented by this kind of gray, solid gray line here, and you'll see it surrounds Youngstown also. What a TIRSA is it's basically a voluntary radar service. Um, Youngstown has the radar equipment that a Delta normally doesn't have. So what they're saying is if you're going to be in this area between 2,500 and 6,000, they would like you to contact Youngstown and talk to them. You don't have to, but it's good for you too. You should. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Tursas don't exist. There's not a ton of these. There's one in Youngstown. There's one in Portsmouth down south of Columbus. You're not required to participate, but you should. National security area is next. You'll see it represented by these thick dashed magenta, and it'll say for reasons of national security. So that's how you know it's a national security area. Flight in the area may be prohibited, and it'll be noted in your NOTAMs. So remember, NOTAMs are information that we get when we create a flight plan and we get a weather briefing. You get NOTAMs, which tells you about closures and other things for the flight. Um, if flight into the national security area is prohibited that day, it'll be noted in the NOTAMs. The only thing that I know of that they put these out for are nuclear power plants. I'm sure there's other things that they do it for, but that's the only one I know of. Good on that.
Yeah.
Airport advisory. I don't know why this is in here. Ignore most of this mumbo jumbo. Um, but it's on Mike's notes. What I want to talk about are flight service station facilities. Back before we had ForeFlight, before we had really had the internet and stuff, to get your weather and weather briefings and that kind of stuff, you needed to call and talk to flight service. You can still do that, but you don't need to do that anymore.
Mhm.
And they also had flight service station facilities, so you could call them over the radio, or you could go in to the facility and talk to them on the ground to get your information, to get your NOTAMs, to get your weather. Those have pretty much gone away because of the internet. So that is one form of airport advisory. Another form of the airport advisory is the weather. So you have ASOS or AWOS. The difference is one, ASOS can report something that AWOS can't, or vice versa. I really don't know, but it's that's not really important. Just ASOS and AWOS are your weather. So if you hear the word ATIS, ATIS is Automated Terminal Information Service, and that is at a towered airport. And the difference between ATIS and AWOS and ASOS is that ATIS is verified by a human. So someone in the tower looks at the weather report from the instruments and reads it out. They verify that it's correct. The ASOS and the AWOS are not verified by a human. That's the difference. Next, we've got our military training routes, or MTRs. They are these light gray lines that you'll see scattered across your sectional chart. IFR routes are identified as IR and then numbers. VFR are VR and then numbers. If the route is below 1,500 feet, they use four numbers. And if the route is above 1,500 feet, they use three numbers. Sometimes they do like to ask the ground or a written question uh, where it'll give you, VR 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll want you to answer if the route is above 1,500 or below 1,500. There's not really anything to know about these besides they don't want you to like plan a flight along one of these routes. Just stay off of them if you can. Next, we have a TFR, temporary flight restriction. So this is an area where flight is restricted for a certain amount of time. So sporting events, concerts, VIP presence, etc., things like that. So Buckeye games, baseball games, hockey games, when the president's in town, when the vice president's in town, foreign dignitaries, they'll shut down airspace. The flight is prohibited into these unless you're talking to a controlling agency normally. I put in a picture of just a TFR for a baseball game. Um, what you can do is you can read through it and it'll tell you what types of flight are restricted. Normally, we are restricted, full stop. Flight training aircraft are not allowed in it unless you get permission from the controlling agency. So, like if you're flying over the stadium, but Columbus Approach tells you you can, then you're good to go because they're the people that are policing that. Make sure you check your NOTAMs before you fly because that's where you're going to find the TFRs. If you bust a TFR, you are going to be in trouble. So you don't want to do that. All good?
Yeah.
ADIZ. So the Air Defense Identification Zone is a line that if you are going to take off and fly VFR past this line and then come back, you need to file a special VFR flight plan. That's the only time that we have to file a VFR flight plan. It's called a DVFR or a Defense VFR flight plan. And they just want to collect information on you and why you are flying across the ADIZ and coming back. I'm sure it's to try and deter things like drug smuggling. All good?
Yeah.
Okay. The last thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to read uh, like an airport data diagram. So first off, this is the key for your airport data diagram. This is on your sectional. You'll also have access to this on your written. I'm pretty sure this is like um, it's on the supplement that they give you. So how it's always going to be is you're going to have the name of the airport, and then you're going to have the identifier right here. So KDLZ. So we have Delaware KDLZ. If you see CT, that stands for control tower. And then it'll have the control tower frequency. This C right here, what does this stand for? Let's go and look. So there should be a line. C follows the common traffic area frequency. So this means CTAF. Okay, so this is the control tower frequency. It's also the CTAF. Okay, so if the control tower is not in operation, if they're closed, you'll still use 118.3 to make position and radio calls on.
Okay.
This star right here is indicating that the operation is part-time. The ATIS and then the weather frequency. So this is the frequency for the weather. This right here, the number that's in italics is going to be the field elevation. The L tells you that lighting is in operation from sunset to sunrise. So once the sun goes down, they turn the lights on. These two numbers here is the length of the longest runway, uh, rounded up to hundreds. Okay, so the longest runway here is 7,200 feet. Then the last frequency or the last set of numbers that is in italics is the Unicom frequency. What Unicom is, because people get Unicom and CTAF mixed up. So CTAF is the traffic area frequency. You'll make your position reports on CTAF. Unicom is set up for you to um, make calls to the FBO. So the FBO, the fixed base operator, are going to be the people that provide gas to you, the people that provide parking for you, the people that provide everything on the ground that you need. Okay. So if you need to talk to the FBO, you talk on Unicom. When you're talking about where you're at, making position reports, you use CTAF. Does that make sense? So don't worry about trying to memorize all this stuff, okay? Um, you're gonna have to know it, but we're gonna look over some of these right now and go back and forth just to try and help you cement it. So right here, we've got Boggs Field. Um, what is this number right here? Do you remember?
Which number?
This one, 118,575.
Um, Control tower frequency, or I don't know.
It's not the control tower frequency. This is going to be the weather, right? So AWAS 3, 118,575. If we look down here, so we saw in the key right here, the last number in italics is going to be the Unicom. The CTAF right here represents our common traffic area frequency. So right here at Boggs Field, our CTAF and our Unicom are the same frequency. It's 122.725.
Okay.
Okay. You can see here what class of airspace is this airport.
Um, E.
Yeah, that's going to be Echo, right? So Delta is going to be the dotted blue, Charlie is the solid magenta, and Bravo is the solid blue. So this doesn't have a control tower, right? Because Echo is uh, uncontrolled airports, but controlled airspace. So there's no control tower here. You look at this L right here. So we've got an L with a star. What does that mean? So we'll go here and we'll go down here. L with a star, lighting limitations exist, refer to chart supplement. So we'd have to look at the chart supplement to see how to turn the lights on here. This number right here, 928. So 928, this is going to be our field elevation. Okay, so 928 is the field elevation here. We look back here, 285. Okay, where does it define that for us? Unicom, 285, elevation in feet. So and then 45. Do you remember what 45 means? Or this number right here?
No.
This is going to be the length of the longest runway, okay,
Uh,
uh in hundreds. So 4,500 feet. So what's the longest runway at Slate Run down here? It's going to be 1,700, right?
oh. Okay.
And then what's the field elevation down here at Slate Run? It's going to be 1,000. We look here. Let's look at West Virginia International. So CT 125.7, what do you think that's for? That's going to be our control tower frequency, right? So you can see uh, West Virginia Jaeger is um, Class Charlie airspace. It's surrounded by the solid magenta. So we know it's going to be Class Charlie, so we know it has a control tower. So CT stands for control tower. That frequency is going to be 125.7. We
Okay.
talked about ATIS earlier. ATIS is another form of weather, right? So ATIS 127.6.
And what? You're good. What's the what does the 127.6 refer to with the ATIS?
That's going to be the frequency that you're going to tune the radio to in order to listen to the ATIS so you can hear what the weather is.
Okay.
That's what the control tower frequency is too, right? You're going to
Yeah.
tune the radio to 125.7 to communicate with the control tower.
So I sorry, we have a bunch of workers. They're like remodeling some shit. They keep coming.
You're okay. We're almost done. I mean, we're done after the slide, so
You're good.
um So this field elevation here is going to be 947. Okay. Then we've got the L. The L tells us again, according to the key, if it's just an L, then the lighting is in operation sunset to sunrise. So it automatically turns on.
Okay.
The 6-7 here is going to tell us how long the longest runway is, uh,
And
rounded to the nearest hundred. Sorry,
that's
what'd you say?
67. That's 6,700.
Yeah, 6,700 feet. It's always just add two zeros.
And that's for everything. It's always add two zeros.
Yeah, as far as I know, pretty much. When we start talking about weather, it's going to be add two zeros too. So,
Okay.
and then this is going to be our Unicom frequency, 122.95. So if we want to talk to the FBO, the people that are going to get us gas and stuff like that, this is the frequency we talk on. So, uh, I actually texted Emily while we were doing this. She's going to give you the quiz tomorrow. She has the paper copy of the quiz, so she'll give
Okay.
that to you tomorrow. That way you'll have it.
Okay, perfect.
Let me know if the quiz that I sent you for last week works or not. If it doesn't, I'll try changing the file,
Okay.
and sending you another one. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions for me right now?
Um, no, not really.
Okay, well, do the quiz when you get it. We'll go over it next week, and we'll go over the other quiz too,
Okay.
and see if we're missing anything.
Is reading the maps gonna be easier like once I start actually I feel like I don't know, I feel like a dumbass when I look at them right now.
You'll be okay. You just they're really not that complicated. We can work on it. We will work on it more when we do our flight planning.
Okay.
Um, I'm not worried about it for you. It's really straightforward. You just have to get over being overwhelmed with it because at
Yeah.
first it's overwhelming looking at all this stuff,
Uh-huh.
but it all like makes perfect sense. And you always have the key.
Yeah.
So go ahead and order yourself a Detroit sectional is what you'll need. Detroit. You can order it on Amazon. They're like 15 bucks.
Okay.
So go ahead and order one of those. You got
All right.
anything else for me?
Nothing else.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, thank you.
Bye.